I'm not playing games, don't need the air that you breathe. Your trifling words don't redefine me. Got so much to gain, the world at my feet. I'm changing course, the captain of this fleet. I got my head up, head up. I got my suit on. I got 400 years telling me I'm strong. I got my head up, head up. Got my suit on. I got 400 years telling me I'm strong. I got 400 years telling me I'm strong. Good afternoon. So we've heard some amazing things already today. When Keela invited me to do a SheTalk, I thought 7 minutes, you give me a mic, I'm gonna go on and on and on. So it's been wonderful to have the different panels that were up here to talk about some of the other pieces already that I can not have to cover, because the first sister talked about authenticity, about how you don't have to wear a mask to work. You know, this group started on, the how pieces, and so I want to go back to that word strong. So I wrote that song. There's no music to it, because all I know is how to write. I don't know how to do music or anything else like that. I wrote that in the middle of a divorce. And it was not a song about him. It was a song for me to keep moving. Because divorce is not what I wanted. You don't get married and go, you know what? I hope this only lasts 17 years, and then I'm going to go for the next thing. It was against my faith. It was not something that has really been a big part of our family for generations, and it was one of the toughest things I ever did. And so I looked at that word strong, and then I got really tired, because to get to chief of staff, you had to fight and kick for other administrative roles throughout your life. And I thought, I'm so tired of people telling me to be strong. Oh, you can do it, be strong. Oh, you can do it, be strong. Well, what does that mean? So I want to go over 3 points in my 7 minutes. I have a timer keeping me on task. So number 1, I want to say know your purpose. And I want to emphasize your purpose, not what everybody else tells you your purpose is. Because everybody's in your business, aren't they? And they have an opinion. And women, we're just opinionated, period. And then I know from the families I come from, brown women, that we take it to a whole other level. I'm just trying to help you, baby. So know your purpose. And how do you keep going back to that? One of the things that helps me define my purpose, it evolves over time. As you age, as you have life experiences, it will evolve. As you have different relationships, it will evolve. For me, though, the foundation set for that was from this man right here who's videotaping me, my daddy. I love you, mama, but you know I'm a daddy's girl. My mom right here. And he said to me at a young age, Angela, each generation does better than the one that came before. So that's always in the back of my mind. If I make this career decision, if I make this educational decision, if I do this, what does that look like for my family? Because we know the historical context of this country. So I'm Blasian, I'm Filipina, and I'm black. And so both sides came out of abject poverty. So what does that mean to do one better? My dad had nerve to run off and get a master's degree, which meant I had to get my JD. I had to get some kind of doctor. He said, that's all you, go for it. So knowing your purpose, and then what does that look like? Because all of us work somewhere. What does that look like in your organization to stay true to your purpose, and how do you do that? So my house, you can figure out whatever house you have, and I'm especially talking to some of the younger women. I have quotes everywhere to remind myself that talk. When I wake up in the morning, to the left on the wall, it says she thought she could, and so she did. Behind me on my head, it says if he brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. When I look on my dresser, it says the battle is not yours. So I'm constantly reminding myself in my office. I always tell my dad, I said, I'm a storm chaser, it's your fault. And there's a quote in my office that just says, adjust your sails. And so know your purpose and then keep going back. How do I get back to it? How do I stay true to myself? Because the world is crazy, and it can make us crazy, so know your purpose. The second piece that I want to bring up, I better stick to my plan here, because I'm going to be making stuff up. Be unapologetically fierce. Unapologetically fierce. Now, let me be clear. That doesn't mean lose your mind. That doesn't mean be reckless and just go all out because, you know what, I don't like that. Some of you talked, the young lady asked a great question about, do you ever want to buck the system? Mm-hmm, all the time. Hello, boss, president of Eastern Washington University sitting over there. I'm a team player. But what do you believe to be true? How does it align with your purpose? How do you stay true to yourself while supporting your organization? And when I'm unapologetically fierce, you can best believe I've done my research. I've got some evidence, whether it's quantitative data or whether it's qualitative, because I've talked to human beings, because in education, we're in the business of human beings. So what am I bringing to the table? And sometimes that involves taking a risk. Sometimes it's a calculated risk. Hopefully you have an educated risk you're going to take. And guess what? Sometimes you're going to fail. And that's okay, because those are teachable moments. It hurts, it sucks sometimes, and you want to, sometimes I will shut my door and go talk to myself a lot. But in those moments when you've decided to be fierce for what you believe to be true because you're staying true to your purpose, are you staying with me now? It's all tying together? I started as a teacher, if you can't tell. So the third thing I want to bring up then is be resilient. And this is the toughest one, because oftentimes, I said earlier, people say, stay strong, you can do it, you've got this. But we are some strong people. I mean, I've read the bios of a lot of these women. I've been meeting people as we're in the vendor space, and what a crew of women and men in here today. But we're not made of steel. We have our moments when we just need to take a break, and we need somebody to pick us up. And that's what I'm constantly reminding myself, that I'm not made of steel. So how do I stay resilient in that moment? A couple of things there. I like song. That song I just made is a part of it. One of the speakers up here mentioned, I think it was this beautiful woman right here in the pink, who mentioned how we need to help each other in that moment. And there are times, the president and I have made a good duo as chief of staff and president, because we are trying to do some incredible things at Eastern Washington University on behalf of students. And our students are generally not students who came with generations of education behind them. We serve a lot of first-generation college students. We serve almost 30% students of color at Eastern Washington University. And so that's tough work. You're turning an aircraft carrier to shift culture, academic culture, to meet those needs. And so as a duo, how do we stay resilient? I mean, we have a lot of unplanned meetings and talks and pep talks and keeping each other going. But what is that piece inside of you? Because oftentimes humans will disappoint you. Have you had that moment when you thought, your family just didn't get it? You thought your best friend was there and didn't understand you, and then your friends go off and get married or have relationships, and all of a sudden you're not front and center? So how do you come from within to make sure that you're still able to be who you are and to do that work on the outside? Timer, how am I doing? I have 30 seconds left. What do I do? Wow. Okay. The final point that I make, that within all of that, how are you strong? So how do you stay true to your purpose? How do you stay unapologetically fierce? How do you stay resilient? And we're all talking about leadership. So the final point I'm making, within all of that, you still need to be a team player. And you still need to know when to lead. And as a leader, you also need to know when to fall back. You also need to know when to be fierce. You also need to know when you're wrong and when to apologize. You also need to know when to be vulnerable so that people understand you're not made of steel. And I'm going to give you an example as I close. This has been, it's been a tough history in this country, period. But for me specifically, I just finished law school at Gonzaga over the last 2 years. And as I was sitting there looking at things happening in Ferguson, I'm looking at Trayvon Martin, all the different things, and now, I told my boss the other day, I said, I told my team, you need to know something about me. I am fierce about Eastern Washington University. I will support the leadership, but I'm hurting and I want to take a knee. I want to take a knee. And I need help from you all to get through this and understand me, and for my team to be a safe space to say, I'm one of the only African-American administrators of color at Eastern, and I'm hurting. And so in that moment, I was vulnerable, I was a team player, I was honest, still knowing that I have to get outside of that conference room and then lead as chief of staff. So I hope for some of you, and especially there's a lot of seasoned people in here, but I see a lot of beautiful young faces, that you got a nugget out of that, because we need you to come behind us and follow and help support all these men and women who are already doing something. So I thank you, Keela. I don't see her in here, but thanking Keela for the opportunity, and David as well. And look forward to talking to more of you at 1:45 in the room.